The Australian Security Academy acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognises the continuing connection to lands, waters and communities. We pay our respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures and to elders past and present. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples should be aware that this series of live streams contains images or names of people who have passed away.
Hi, investigators. Mike Evans and Casey Evans here somewhere. I knew we were here somewhere. How are you, Casey?
I'm very good, Mike. Thanks. How are you?
Very well. Great to have you back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Where were you last week?
I was in Melbourne teaching OSINT, so it was very good. Yes, I agree. It's Friday.
Yeah, good on you, David. It sure is. G'day, Chantal. Thank you for saying hello. Thank you for saying hello. Hi, Michelle. How are you going? Hope it's good down in Byron Bay. G'day, Chantal and Michelle and David and everybody else that's watching. Please say hello in the chat if you get the opportunity. People, last year, everybody here was really kind to my family. My wife had a tragic accident last year where she was severely hurt riding a horse in a horse riding accident, and she made a really big comeback, got better, and here she is this week. So she bought that new horse today, and I know what you're saying and what you're thinking. What's a girl like that doing with him? Well, basically, it's quite simple. She saw him advertised on an equine program as for sale. So we travelled down to Yuki in New South Wales across the Great Divide last Saturday and purchased Oren. And right at this very minute, she's riding him around the arena, and her first ride since July last year when she had that injury. So fully recovered, and I really appreciate everybody that expressed support and concern way back then, because that was a very difficult time, but 100% better now and back in the saddle. So that's happened this week. Just in the prior program today, we had insurance travel claim fraud investigations. It's about as much fun as you can have in the investigations industry. It's really great stuff. So we had that presentation on that. You can jump over to Investigations Uni and see that presentation. You're invited to it each week if you're an Australian Security Academy student. It's going to be a staple investigation that you do, along with CTP liability, workers' compensation, public liability, motor vehicle accident, stolen motor vehicles, general insurance, and home and contents. G'day, Judith. Great to see you. Thanks for saying hello. So certainly that's something you should be watching if you're going to be doing fraud investigations. Hey, look who's here. Haven't seen him for a while. Yeah. Great to see you, mate. Thanks for saying g'day. The big thing with fraud investigations, I need everybody to understand. Everybody thinks you're going to go and meet some sinister person who's going to be evasive, who's not going to cooperate with you. It's going to be really ugly. But what we presented in that program earlier today was the basic truth of what the late and great Mark Benedict, investigator in Queensland, said to everybody that was in our Australian Security Academy classes. He said, I've never conducted an insurance fraud investigation interview with anyone who has not given me a plausible version of events in their initial account of the circumstances of what happened. Now, you think about that and think about all the fraud interviews you've done. That's very true, because the person gives you a big bunch of flowers. the story they want to tell you from the beginning of where they want to start from, and that's how they go through it. Then it unravels when you implement the time and event line, interview techniques, your record of interview as trained by Pat Flynn, your witness statements, all that sort of thing when that comes into it. And that was covered in this presentation today, along with the questions you ask, along with some relevant PowerPoints, which you can write to me and get copies of if you're an Australian Security Academy student, if you like that video. So keep that in mind. In the news this week, it's come out about OSINT being used in divorce proceedings. So people are having their occupation and their Facebook stuff used in divorce proceedings, used against them. This lady had an OnlyFans site, and basically that was brought up in court, and the headlines screaming about it. Hang on, when I get it up. The headlines are screaming about it, and then on the same article, it gives you the do's and don'ts of what to do on social media. So don't slag off your partner online, saying you've had too many drinks, having a big night out at the pokies, jokes about drug use, criticising your children. What's wrong with that? I don't know. That's a bit difficult. Showing clips of your kids criticising a parent. These are the do's and don'ts, and there was a bunch of other people involved in it in the article, and it's showing how they used OSINT as a weapon in court during those proceedings. Now, that OSINT would have been done by law firm staff, just looking and just, going on fishing expeditions to see what muck they could dig up. If you are going to be a professional OSINT person, you must be licensed in the state where you're going to conduct that OSINT, because what's going to happen sooner or later is an intelligent lawyer or barrister or whatever is going to say, okay, where did you get that image from? Who did it? All right, they work for a law firm, that's okay. But if that image is of that person who now lives in South Australia at a wedding in Western Australia, then it's going to get mucky. So ensure that if you're conducting OSINT and getting paid for it, you protect yourself by being licensed appropriately, because it's starting to get round in the press more and more, in relation to these things. The outcome, the outcome could be very negative for you if you're called into one of those court cases. So keep that in mind. It's very important. The other thing we looked at today was Allied Universal, the great team down at Allied Universal. G'day, Kirian. G'day, Leanne. Hope you're all well down there. Their new system for identifying fraudulent documents in travel claims, and it's an AI system. And as I explained to my students, it's not going to replace you as an investigator. It's going to send you more work as an investigator. So that's really important. Casey, what have you got for us this week?
Yes, I was asked Mike's forwarded me a very great question by one of our students, and that is a question about using breach data and should you use it as an investigator, and what are the legalities and ethics around it. And he specifically mentioned Michael Bizel's open source intelligence techniques, because he advocates for it in his book. This is the 8th edition. I think we're up to like the 12th edition or something now. So I love his books. I reference them all the time. A lot of my bookmarks are falling out now, but his books are brilliant. Cannot recommend them enough. And when it comes to breach data, I'm an advocate for breach data as well, but there are some specific ways of going about it which are really important. So if you have, if you're an individual operator and you are using breach data, you still need your own policies and procedures. If you're part of a agency that uses breach data, make sure there are policies and procedures around it. So one of the things that I make sure, because I used to, when I think this was my first actual book of Michael's that I had bought, and I started collecting breach data. I've got a huge external hard drive that when I used to come across it on the dark web, that I would just offload everything. And then I learned how to search it properly, because when you have such a big data set, it takes a long time to search if you don't know how to use certain tools to be able to search it. So it is a learning curve, but it's well worth it if it's something that your agency or something that you're passionate about as an investigator, because it can work really well. So when it comes to breach data, don't ever buy it. That's one of my kind of number one rules. Oh yeah, sure. I'll have to have a think about that. But yeah, this, I'm pretty sure he's selling them as PDFs now, so you don't have to buy. Like, I love the physical copies because I go through and I highlight stuff, and it's just such a good reference book. So I highly recommend getting the physical copies if he still does them. And yeah, I have to have a think about some other books, because there are some others that I really, really recommend people read for digital investigations. So yeah, the number one kind of rule that I stand by when it comes to breach data is that you don't go buying data sets on the dark web from criminals who have just stolen a data set. So you wouldn't, if Optus was hacked and you go onto the dark web and you see it on a dark marketplace, the Australian Optus data set, and it's there for like, I don't know, $1,000, you don't go, yes, done, I'm paying that $1,000. You are buying it off a criminal. You can't do that. I always wait for data sets to appear for free somewhere on the dark web. And then I make a note of where I got it from. So generally, like, I'll keep the onion address, I'll show how I found it. And this took me, I didn't do this to start with. I was kind of just going gung-ho as a new investigator. I don't have that original data set anymore because I was just grabbing stuff from everywhere. And when you do that, when you're not a little bit more methodical, then it's just a mess. And if I was put into a court of law and said, if I was sat in the box and they're like, where did you find this? I would have no idea. So that data set's gone. I now like trace where I found the data set and put it in a folder saying this is where I got the data set from, so that I know it's legal. It was open source. I didn't go and buy it from a criminal. You kind of just wait for the criminals to be sick of using it, and it'll just end up on a forum somewhere. So that's how I generally get my breach data. I haven't done any breach data collection in probably 18 months at the moment, just because I've been so busy, but it is something I'm passionate about because criminals use it. And you can't just wash your hands and go, well, criminals use it, we can't use it. You have to use it as a defensive mechanism as well. And you can also use it to really enrich your investigations. So I've just got some slides here. So number one, so it can enhance your OSINT capabilities. So breach data often contains email addresses, usernames, passwords, phone numbers that can be used to trace the subject's online footprint, cross-referencing identities, finding hidden aliases, and timeline building, which is all really important when it comes to your investigation. So we don't use passwords. As I said, if you've done my OSINT course, you know not to put like, just because you find a password, you'll see like baby OSINT people who just get really proud that they found a password and they'll stick it in the report to kind of flex their OSINT capabilities. Don't do that. It's not a flex, it's a breach of privacy. Unless the report is going to the police, you do not put passwords in there. You can make a note of the fact that you have the password if it ever needs to go to the police, but passwords, it's like, I say this probably every week, but it's like walking outside someone's house, finding the key to their house on the ground, and then using it or giving it to someone that isn't the police. Like, you don't have a right to use that key and to unlock the house and walk in and have a little look around. It's just not okay. So don't do that. 2, supporting attribution and profiling. So breach data helps investigators attribute actions to specific individuals or groups. So you can get geolocation hints, behavioral analysis, and organized crime detection. This obviously helps you if you come across some kind of organized crime while doing an investigation, you know then that it's beyond your capability. If it's moving into the criminal world, then the next step is to suggest that it goes to the police or you take it to the police. So, and then you have that information to put into the report and hand off to the police, which is fantastic. 3, corroborating evidence in cases, so support other evidence, verification of identities, tracing fraud or financial crimes, and linking devices. Strengthening digital security for clients. So if you are consulting to clients who are saying, can you do OSINT on me? Or we have a new CEO coming in, can you do OSINT on them to see what's out there on them? And you can look at breach databases to see if they've been hacked and if they're using the same password over and over and over again, and you can see that, then you know that they probably need some cyber training. They probably need to learn how to use a password manager, things like that. It can really help protect your clients, and it's such a fantastic service to offer. And also the early warning system, like if you were doing this on a regular basis and you detect that like a hack that has happened, or you can see that a client has been in a breach, you can warn them before something terrible happens. So it's fantastic for that. I love that kind of offensive way of using it, rather than, you can detect it early rather than it being defensive. You can take offensive steps to help protect your client or your company. Leveraging breach data for training and awareness. So obviously teaching students, which is what I do, and demonstrate real world threats. Because I know whenever I show people, even I haven't taught any dark web stuff in a long time. I think the last video I did on that was a while ago, and I've only been teaching OSINT for beginners. Just the sheer amount of information and the passwords we find on the surface web surprise people. So that's something that, like, then you go a little bit further into breach data and just see how much information is out there on people. It's crazy. And building a competitive advantage. So for agencies, you can have like just that extra bit of competitive advantage. And if you've built it into your policies and procedures, you're not buying it from a criminal, you're waiting for it to appear online, you're showing where you got the information from, you're not handing over passwords to clients, this is all in your policy and procedures, then I think that it is a fantastic competitive advantage for investigators to have breach data sets. And as I said, like, criminals are using it all the time. And if we're not using it as investigators, I think that it's something that would be letting us down. Like, if you have a big agency, then gosh, get someone on it. I highly, highly recommend it. So definitely, I think that as long as, your policy and procedures are in check, you're sticking within the legal guidelines. Hey, Nanad, welcome. And Emily, hello, good to see your face. So making sure that you're sticking within the legal and ethical guidelines, you're not handing over information. Like, if just for a very famous example, like if someone's in the Ashley Madison leak and you see that in your breach data set and that has nothing to do with the case that you're putting together, you don't put that in there. You also have to show a lot of discretion, and we go through that at length in the OSINT for Beginners course, because understanding what goes into a report, what to put in, what to leave out, leaving aside your excitedness of your new skill set, and you'll be able to find all of these things and you have access to all this information, but showing your professionalism and showing that you are good at your job is being discerning and knowing what to put in and what to leave out. So, and also communicating with the client, saying, or the case manager, and saying, hey, I have this, they've been exposed in this data leak or that data leak. I don't think has anything to do with the case, just letting you know that it's there, but I'm not putting it in the report. If you want it in the report, let me know your reasons why. So that produces good communication. And at the end of the day, the report is your product, and you want to produce the best product, and you want it to really relate to the case. You don't want all of the guff that goes in there. Gone are the days of the guff and the 40-page reports for no reason. So yeah, hopefully that clears it up. So I would love to know, does anybody work with breach data or work in an agency that uses breach data? Can tell I watch a lot of American programs on data. So yeah, I would love to know your experience if you have any experience with it. But I love my breach data set, and I use it as part of just seeing if there is a different phone number, maybe even a landline, which might direct me to like a different state that they've lived in. It'll show me different email addresses, and we know how to run the different email addresses to produce different pieces of information. There can be so much around that can be really, really helpful to investigations. So yeah, huge advocate for breach data, but as long as it's legally and ethically obtained.
Okay, in answer to Casey's question, the answers are coming
Yes,
in.
Chief.
Yes, Chief.
Yes, Chief Gaines.
Yes, Chief.
Yes, Chief Ramo.
Yes, Chief.
Yes, Chief.
Yes, Chief.
Yes, Chief Superintendent.
Yes, Chief.
Oh, yes, Chief Inspector.
Yes, Chief.
Yes, Chief.
Yes, Chief.
Yes, Chief. Oh, yes, Chief.
Yes, Chief? Yeah.
Yes, Chief.
Yes, Chief. And the truck's got the extra stops.
Yeah, it sounds like everybody's been doing it.
Okay.
So, can
Yeah,
you read that, Casey? What's Greg got there?
Yes, he uses it for skip tracing as well. Fantastic.
Tell me, Greg. Thanks for letting us know, mate. Champion. All right, and here we go.
Thanks for letting me know.
All right, people. Thanks, Casey. So you weren't here last week. You're not going to be here next week. What do you got on next week?
Next week is my favorite time of the year. I get to go to a big OSINT symposium, and I am just there to learn. I'm not teaching or doing anything. I'm just part of the crowd and get to network with fellow open source intelligence professionals and learn all of the new tools and tricks and what's going on, the techniques, the report writing. I love the OSINT Symposium put on by OSINT Combine. It's an event I look forward to every year. They have fantastic speakers. I always sing the praises of Chris Poulter. So that'll be on next week. So I'll be in the symposium next Thursday and Friday. If anyone's going, let me know. And if anyone sees me there, come and say hi, because I am just going, along. I will definitely be reporting back, and I cannot wait to take all of what I learn and teach it to you guys as well. So I like to keep my finger on the pulse with all of these things. We invest a lot of money in extra training, extra symposiums and things like that. So we do keep our finger on the pulse. Otherwise, because it changes so quickly and there are so many people with so many voices and so many different tools, going to things like this is so good, and it's all in one place, and I can come back and share the knowledge with you guys. So I'm really, really looking forward to it.
So that's Amsterdam or Paris or Rome. Where are you going?
Oh, I wish. It's in Sydney. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have a break from you next week, and we'll be able to have a lot of fun in here while you're away, as usual.
Make sure he behaves and report.
Which you missed out on last week, and you're going to miss out on next week, so we'll have twice as much fun. Might even come up with a new dance. You go.
You took it. Thanks to you, Casey. I went to my first one online 2 years ago. And yes, it's so good. I'm glad you've gone online. Yeah, because they have the online version. So yes, anyone can attend. I think they've sold out for the in-person, and I think they still have online tickets available. So if you just Google OSINT Combine, the OSINT Symposium, they hold it every year. It's, since probably 2019, 2020. And they've always just been brilliant events. They are So we centre OSINT and our OSINT training around investigators. They have, they take it to next level. They're looking at mis and disinformation. They're looking at geopolitics. They're looking at counterterrorism. But I tend to draw on all of that information and look at how we can use it in the civil sector. Yeah, so a lot of it can be it's next level stuff and doesn't necessarily apply to us. But yeah, still being there to learn and listen to what's going on and how OSINT is used outside of just your civil and commercial investigations is really important, because it does transfer to us as well.
Sure does. Yep, my word. So people, if you're looking for work as a licensed private investigator, this is the Facebook page you can join. If you're an Australian Security Academy student, you just email me and I'll put you in touch with contacts of the investigation agencies throughout Australia. If you're looking for work in New South Wales, AB Investigations would like to speak to you if you're an Australian Security Academy student. So send me an email and say, "Hi Mike, can you introduce me to AB Investigations?" They're particularly interested in if you are 20%, 25%, 50% the way through your course. They'd like to speak to you with the view to setting up, a relationship, onboarding you and having you ready to go when you are licensed. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have to do your course. They're very exact. You've got to complete the course. That's really important. Sure fact, looking for common law investigators in New South Wales and Victoria. If you're an Australian Security Academy student, you go to a job interview and the employer says to you, can you take, and the investigation employer says to you, can you take a common law statement off an employer in relation to a common law workers' compensation claim and address all the particulars of negligence? You will be able to say yes, because you learn that in your Australian Security Academy course. That's really important. For those of you in Victoria who have to undertake the 25 hours of online training, we now have Investigations Uni set up so you can watch the online presentations in relation to that 25 hours, apart from watching Investigations Uni when we do them actually live. So that's all set up now. So send me an email and just say, hey, Mike, I need access to the Uni for Victoria. Or if you're an Australian Security Academy student, you just want access to that CPD. Currently has 38 presentations in it. By this time next week, we should have 58 presentations in it. So we're looking forward to that happening. Other than that, people, the only other thing that was in the news this week down in New South Wales, the Office of Fair Trading had a crackdown on real estate agents' trust accounts. And so basically that was the outcome of their check. They put that up on their website as a regulator to let people know, just like Security Licensing Enforcement Division do in New South Wales. To keep people informed of, their enforcement activities around there. Casey, thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate your company. It was a great presentation, really good information. Casey does have a dark web presentation in Investigations Uni. It is probably 16 months old now, I would say. It would have changed dramatically since then, but we're going to be looking forward to Casey's updates after her experience at the conference next week and after we have a lot of fun here in Casey's absence. So thanks for watching, people. We'll see you next week.
Hi.
작전 종료. 전원 복귀할 것.
Whoops, I'm doing what Casey did. See you next week, people, when I learn how to drive this thing. Thanks for watching.